Title: The Curse of the Sand Creature. Malina and Frank had been looking forward to their weekend getaway for months. Life in the city had been hectic, and they desperately needed some time to themselves. When Frank suggested a remote island campsite, accessible only by boat, Malina was hesitant at first, but the idea of being surrounded by nature, away from the noise and stress, eventually won her over. They had planned to spend 3 days there, 3 days of blissful solitude. The island was shrouded in mystery, but neither of them paid much attention to the local legends. The old fisherman who ferried them across the water had warned them in a gravelly voice, "Be mindful of the third night. This island ain't like any other. Folks vanish. No trace but a smoldering fire and empty clothes. The sand has a hunger of its own, they say." Frank chuckled at the old man's superstitions, brushing them off as tales meant to scare tourists. Malina, though, felt a chill creep up her spine, but she didn't let it show. The first 2 days were everything they'd hoped for. The weather was perfect, the scenery breathtaking, and the isolation invigorating. They spent their days hiking through dense woods, swimming in the crystal clear waters, and enjoying quiet moments by the campfire. At night they lay beneath the stars, the crackling of the fire their only companion. But on the third day, everything changed. It started with a sense of unease that neither of them could shake. The air felt thicker, the shadows longer. The once friendly chirping of birds was now an eerie silence. Even the sun seemed to retreat behind a veil of clouds, casting an unnatural gloom over the island. That night, as they sat by the fire, a strange sound caught Malina's attention. It was a soft, whispering noise, like the wind passing through a narrow crevice, but it seemed to come from below them. Frank noticed it too, his playful demeanor fading as he scanned the darkness. "Did you hear that?" Malina whispered, her voice barely audible over the crackling fire. "Yeah," Frank replied, his voice tense. "Probably just the wind." But it wasn't the wind. The sound grew louder, more distinct, like a chorus of voices rising from the very ground beneath them. The sand around the campsite began to shift, slowly at first, then more violently, as if something was moving underneath. "Frank, what's happening?" Malina's voice trembled as she stood up, backing away from the shifting sand. Before Frank could respond, the sand erupted. A dark, amorphous creature rose from the ground, its body composed of the very earth they stood on. Its form was undefined, constantly shifting and writhing, with hollow, glowing eyes that burned with a malevolent light. It exuded an aura of ancient evil, as if it had existed long before humans ever set foot on the island. Malina and Frank were frozen in terror, unable to move as the creature advanced. The sand beneath their feet seemed to come alive, pulling them down, rooting them in place. The whispers grew louder, now a deafening roar in their ears. The creature reached out with a tendril of sand, wrapping around Malina's ankle, pulling her toward it. She screamed, struggling against the force that was dragging her into the earth. Frank lunged to help her, but as soon as he touched the sand, it engulfed him as well, pulling him down with terrifying speed. The last thing Malina saw before the darkness consumed her was the fire, now reduced to a mere smoldering glow, and Frank's outstretched hand, desperately reaching for her. When the sun rose the next morning, the island was silent once more. The campsite was undisturbed, save for the faint scent of smoke and the remnants of a dying fire. Malina and Frank were gone, leaving behind only their clothes, neatly folded in the tent, as if they had simply vanished into thin air. The fishermen who came to check on them found no signs of a struggle, no footprints leading away from the campsite. Just the empty tent, the smoldering fire, and the ever-shifting sand. He shook his head, muttering to himself, "Another pair lost to the curse." As he turned to leave, the sand behind him shifted ever so slightly, as if something deep beneath the surface was stirring, waiting for the next set of visitors to claim. The legend of the sand creature lived on, a chilling reminder that some places are best left undisturbed, where the earth itself holds dark, ancient secrets. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe.